Mr. Speaker, I move that the House suspend the rules and pass H.R. 3869 as amended.
The clerk will report the title of the bill.
H.R. 3869, a bill to amend the Homeland Security Act of 2002 to require state and local coordination on cybersecurity with the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center and for other purposes.
Pursuant to the rule, the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Hurd, and the gentlewoman from Texas, Ms. Jackson Lee, will each control 20 minutes. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I ask unanimous consent that all members have 5 legislative days within which to revise and extend their remarks and include any extraneous material on the bill under consideration.
Without objection.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentleman is recognized.
The need to address cybersecurity at a state and local level is of the utmost importance. From our local DMV offices and courthouses to our critical infrastructure, the exploitable vulnerabilities and possible consequences are alarming. Yet in the cybersecurity realm, state and local governments often do not have access to the technical capabilities and training that the federal government does. My bill, H.R. 3869, the State and Local Cyber Protection Act, is a critical step in the resolution of this problem. In 2010, the National Governors Association released a statement on the importance of cybersecurity in protecting the ability of federal, state, and local governments to perform their vital functions. They stated, and I quote, "Due to the breadth and scope of the state role in entitlement services, facilitating travel and commerce, regulatory oversight, licensing, and citizen services, states gather, process, store, and share extensive amounts of personal information. From cradle to grave, the states are the nexus of identity information for individuals. This makes the states prime targets for external and internal cyber threats," and I end quote. Cybersecurity is a shared responsibility involving all levels of government and the private sector. While much has been done over the last several years to improve the nation's cybersecurity, a number of challenges remain. This bill would allow state and local governments access to the assistance, training, and tools voluntarily and upon request that are required to secure our nation's information systems at every level. This bill instructs the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center, the NCIC, at the Department of Homeland Security to coordinate with state and locals on securing their information systems. The NCIC will do so by assisting in the identification of system vulnerabilities and possible solutions for state and local information security systems. They will be developing a web portal to communicate available tools for state and locals, providing technical training for state and local cybersecurity analysts, providing assistance in implementing cybersecurity tools upon request, and providing privacy and civil liberties training and informing state and locals on the current cybersecurity guidelines already developed at the federal level. Lastly, the State and Local Cyber Protection Act would require the NCIC to seek feedback from state and local governments once the law is implemented and voluntary assistance has begun, in order to gauge the effectiveness of these efforts and ensure the progress is being made. The Department of Homeland Security has a substantial responsibility to state and locals in the cyber realm, as state and local systems host a wide range of sensitive PII and critical infrastructure data, making them especially attractive for cyber attacks. By reinforcing the relationship between DHS and state and local governments, we are supporting and urging for the continued development of cyber protection for our state and local governments. I urge all members to join me in supporting this bill, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentleman reserves. The gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of H.R. 3869, the State and Local Cyber Protection Act of 2015. Yield myself such time as I may consume.
The gentlelady is recognized.
Let me, first of all, thank the gentleman from Texas for his leadership working on this legislation, to again acknowledge our chairs, Mr. McCall and Mr. Thompson, but also to acknowledge Mr. Ratcliffe and Mr. Richmond for their leadership in this area. The threat of cyber attacks is growing, and the damage caused by those attacks, whether it is a theft of personally identifier information or the disruption of operations, it is becoming more costly. FEMA has identified cybersecurity as an area for national improvement in its National Preparedness Report every year since it was first published in 2012. That finding is based in large part on state self-assessments reflecting a lack of confidence in the cybersecurity capabilities. The threat posed by criminal and terrorist hackers continue to evolve, even as state and local governments work to gain a stronger footing for the cybersecurity missions. Let me say that this country continues to grow, continues to increase its population, and continues to become dependent on the cybersecurity infrastructure. Helping to engage state and local entities by training is a crucial action, and I if I might, applaud the gentleman, but also say a very important mission for both the Homeland Security Department and the Committees on Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security has resources and capabilities that, when shared with state and local governments, can help them step up their games. H.R. 3869, the State and Local Cyber Protection Act of 2015, would codify ongoing efforts by instructing the National Cybersecurity and Communication Integration Center, NCCIC, and the Department of Homeland Security to coordinate with state and local governments to, upon request, provide assistance to secure their information systems. Information systems run water entities in our communities, and I remember visiting one that was up on the web, if you will, that could be altered by a cyber attack. This legislation would codify DHS ongoing coordination to give assurances to state and local governments that DHS stands ready to partner with them to protect their networks. Under this bill, DHS is authorized to assist state and local governments to deploy technology capable of diagnosing and mitigating against cyber threats and vulnerabilities. H.R. 3869 authorizes DHS to provide training to state and local entities regarding integrating policies to protect privacy and civil liberties into their cybersecurity efforts. It is increasingly important that all levels of government be capable of identifying information system vulnerabilities and protecting them from unauthorized access, disclosure, and disruption of data. I want to say to Mr. Hurt that we have always, as a committee, been reminded of privacy and civil liberties issue while also protecting the American people. To build that capability, the federal government has a role to play in assisting state and local entities by providing technical training on cybersecurity and guidance on potential privacy and civil liberties implications. Speaker, many stakeholders throughout the country have told us that this bill is a vital, much-needed step in advancing national cybersecurity capabilities. I urge all of my colleagues to support H.R. 3869, and I reserve the balance of my time.
Gentlelady reserves. Gentleman from Texas.
Mr. Speaker, I have no more speakers. If the gentlelady from the great state of Texas has no further speakers, I'm prepared to close once the gentlelady does.
To the gentleman, I have no further speakers, and I'll close at this time. As I do so, I'd like to ask the Speaker to put an article in the record dated October 19th on boosting power grid defenses against ISIS in the Hill newspaper.
Without objection.
I ask unanimous consent. Thank you. I again yield myself such time as I may consume. Again, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. State and local governments have been struggling to keep pace with evolving threats posed by cyber breaches. They just cannot do it alone. We have the resources. This department was crafted and designed to be able to reach out beyond these parameters to ensure that local governments and state governments felt the resources or felt that they were secure. I believe that enactment of H.R. 3869 would send a clear message about our commitment to helping state and local governments address the perennial cybersecurity challenges that permeates their providing services for their constituents that have been identified every year according to the National Preparedness Report. Having formally chaired this infrastructure committee, I know that the need still remains great and that we have an opportunity to keep building and improving on that resource. Again, I urge my colleagues to vote yes on H.R. 3869 and yield back the balance of my time. Thank the gentleman from Texas for his leadership.
Gentlelady yields back. Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Mr. Speaker, I yield myself such time as I